So in today's value-added course, what we're going to do is we are going to learn something about Markdown language. Okay. So before I begin, I would like to know how many of you already know about this language. All those you who has already who already knows this language, please reply yes. Okay. So I think nobody knows. How many of you have heard about this language? Okay. So Ashish Panda has heard about it. Any other students? Artem, Bharat Dave, Marwa, Mavra, Janvi, Anas. Okay, Faizan. Okay, so many of you have heard about this. Okay, so now today what we're going to see is basically what is the importance of this language, why do we use it, where do we use it, and how do we use it. Okay, so all these things we are going to learn. It is a very basic knowledge that you should have. At the same time, it is very important to have it. Okay, if you don't have it, then that is also not acceptable. Okay, so let me start the course. Let's go to first what is basically Markdown language. Okay, so basically this, as per Wikipedia, it says basically it's a lightweight markup language. Okay, with plain text formatting syntax. What does that mean? Okay, so we already know the markup language, the very famous markup language, that is HTML. Okay, hypertext markup language. Okay, then why Markdown? Okay, so there are multiple reasons why Markdown is used. Okay, I will give you one by one each of the reasons. Okay, but basically it is for simplicity. Okay, so in many of the cases, the people who are typing the contents onto the forms, okay, so wherever, let it be a profile or anything, so they may not be well versed with HTML, because HTML, there are so many things that you have to learn before you can start creating good looking pages. Okay, now for that there are something called as what you see is what you get editors. Okay, so those type of editors, like in case of Microsoft Word, you have all the buttons over there, you just select anything and you press bold, it becomes bold, right? So that type of editors are also there, but behind the scenes it is actually adding the B tag, okay, bold tag or the strong tag. Okay, so all these things is happening behind the scenes. Okay, so that the HTML developer will know better. Okay, so if it's a normal user, then he may not know about complete HTML. Okay, but he would like to do some basic formatting, like let's suppose I want to create something bold or something highlighted, something like that. Okay, so for those things, this language was invented, which is basically a lightweight. What do I mean by lightweight? So there is not so many things that are there in the case of HTML. Okay, so HTML has so many different tags, so many different ways of styling the things, but Markdown doesn't have all those things, but it is used in many places. Okay, now this was invented in the year 2004 by John Gruber along with Aaron Swartz. Okay, so let's look at why Markdown. Okay, so basically it is easy to learn. Okay, and in fact I would say it is very easy to learn. Okay, then it is fast. If you try to write, it is not fast in terms of how it is going to be displayed, because in the end it is converting Markdown into HTML. Okay, so that is not the point over here. The fast here means how fast we can type the code. Okay, so Markdown can be written extremely fast. Okay, so that we will see as soon as we get inside it. Okay, then it is clean. Another important thing is when you write a code of HTML and you open the source, it will be very difficult for you to find out what are the contents and what are the tags. Okay, so there are so many tags in between that it is very difficult to understand the actual data and the actual and the tags. Okay, but in case of Markdown, there are very simple syntax which if you look at without the compiling part or without the view part, then also it looks almost the same. Okay, so that is the good part about Markdown. Okay, next is it is portable. Portable means you can create your Markdown file anywhere and it will work in any other system also. Okay, so basically you can create it over here, then you take that file and put it on some website, it will work there also. Everywhere it will work without any errors. Okay, then it is flexible. In case of flexibility, you can convert this file into HTML directly, or you can convert into PDF, you can convert into PostScript file. So there are lots of other options that are there. So that flexibility is there. Okay, and finally this is the part that I like the most, it is secure. Okay, now this is just my personal opinion. Okay, now I don't know how many of you have heard about blogging or forums where people post their views or questions and you get the answers, right? So in those cases, what happens is previously we used to allow people to format the text where users can put their HTML content in the text boxes and that will be displayed in the forum. Okay, but now the problem is, as we have seen in the ethical hacking course, there is a possibility of XSS attack. Okay, cross-site scripting. So that is because the script tag is used by the attacker to do some session hijacking or some to run some JavaScript code, etc. Okay, so that will create a problem if you are using pure HTML. Okay, so many of the websites they have switched to Markdown so that that type of attack is no longer possible. Okay, so in that way, because script tags are not allowed in Markdown, so that is the best part. Another thing is uh, that does not mean that the hackers cannot add the script tag now, because most of the websites, they will support both of them. Okay, they will support Markdown as well as HTML. Okay, so if you do not know Markdown and you know HTML, you can obviously skip the Markdown part. So again, the security has to be maintained on the server side, that sanitize your inputs. Okay, so that has to be there. Let's go to who uses Markdown. Okay, so in some form, Markdown you must have used everywhere. Okay, so like where? Okay, so it is there in some form in Skype. Okay, may not be, all these websites may not be using exactly the same Markdown. They may be using something in a stripped down form. Okay, like for example WhatsApp, you all know WhatsApp Markdown, right? So we put star and between the words and it makes it bold, right? So that is again called as Markdown. Okay, so it is the WhatsApp's version of Markdown, so that is slightly different. So everybody can create their own Markdown compilation, but there is a standard Markdown that we should all uh, learn, and the remaining thing depends on which platform you are using. Okay, so like Facebook Messenger also has some form of another type of a Markdown. Wikipedia has a Markdown if you write contents on Wikipedia. Then of course GitHub is the reason why Markdown is so famous. Okay, then Slack, it's very important for team collaboration part. Okay, so I may we will have another course on Slack and Trello. Okay, so we will see, or there is another software called Asana. Okay, so Slack, Trello, Asana, all these things are very important for project management purpose. Okay, so if you're working in groups, then these softwares are very important. Okay, and most of the places you will find in some way or the other, they are using Markdown in some format. Okay, Okay, now let me just give you some online resources where you can actually type. Okay, so we will be using a combination of these because some features are not there in some softwares, right? So basic features will be there in everywhere. Okay, so all these things I will explain it to you one by one. Okay, so the first set, that is the online editors, is where you can, if you want, you can write your code live. Okay, if you do not have a computer with you, you can use this on your mobile phone, and you can, type your markdown code and test if everything is working. Okay, so these three websites are there. Then softwares, if you are on a computer, and if you want to work on softwares other than a web app, then you can use, obviously our favorite is my favorite is VS Code. You can use that, and Typora is there, which also you can use. Okay, then there are some libraries which you can use in your apps. Okay, so I have used this one in my software, simple MDE. Okay, and this is also there, markdown editor. Okay, so what are the importance of libraries is, you can include it in your web app, and your normal text box, the text area that you put in HTML, that will be converted into a editor. Okay, so you can just go through the documentation and find out how to add it. Okay, so till now, are there any doubts? Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so first I will show you the online app, the two apps that are my favorites. Okay, so this is the this is Dillinger.io, and this is StackEdit. Okay, so both of them look almost the same. Okay, so basically here on the left side, you can write your markdown language code, and here you will get the preview. Okay, StackEdit is also the same. Okay, and I will also like to show you using your local computer. Okay, so let's create a folder. Let's call it MD. Okay, for markdown. Right click and open it with code. So you can see I have a folder open. Now I can create a new file. Let's call it, what should I call? Profile.md. Okay, so I've created this. Uh, Now I can close this out. So I have profile.md, and on top over here, you can see on the right hand side, just below the minimize symbol, you can see a preview window. Okay, so just click on that, and that will open the preview. Okay, so now all these three softwares will look alike. Okay, so this is the local software, that is VS Code. So VS Code has an inbuilt facility for viewing the output of your MD file, that is markdown file. Okay, and if you want to use online, then there is StackEdit.io and Dillinger.io. Okay, so these three websites will be there. Okay, for some of the features, I'm going to use StackEdit because StackEdit has much more features like equation, UML diagrams, all these things are there. So I will show, I will switch to this when I reach there. Okay, then other than that, all the features are there in Dillinger. Okay, so I like these three. Usually I just prefer using Visual Studio Code because I'm always on the code, and you need not switch for any other things, right? And okay, so no doubt still here. Okay, so now let's begin. So once again, before I proceed with the code, any queries till now? No. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So let's begin. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is let's begin with header. Okay. So I would like to use Visual Studio Code only. Okay. For doing all the coding. Okay. So the first thing that we are going to learn is about headers. Okay. So how to add headers to your markdown files. Okay, so usually whenever you write any documentation, anything, you will always start with an header. Okay, so in case of HTML, what you do is you do this, right? Sorry, h1, then something, and then you close h1, right? So this is what you normally do. Okay, so you can see markdown also supports HTML. Okay, so you can actually write your code using HTML also, but that will be difficult, right? So that's why we are switching to markdown. So in markdown, if you want to create an h1 tag, you just have to do hash. Okay, hash, then a space, and then you can write. So that creates an header. Okay, h1 header. Okay, so if you want to put an h2 header, double hash hello. Okay, if you want h3, you must have guessed it. Okay, h4 will be 4 hashes, and 5 and 6. Okay, so you can see the various sizes on which this is there. Okay, so hello, then it is a smaller one, so like this it is going. Okay, so that is all about headers. Okay, so next what we're going to see is, let's suppose, okay, so I have added a statement. Okay, so I want to highlight college. Okay, so let's suppose I want to make this italic. Okay, so I want to make this italic. So what to do? Okay, so for italic, what you can do is you can add a star and end with a star. So you can see what happens. That particular statement becomes italic. Okay, you can also use underscore instead of star. Okay, so underscore,
मूव कर देने का ऐसे लोग को क्या कहता हूँ
you can use underscore, and you can see it creates the same effect. Okay, so it may not be visible directly. Okay, so I will select the entire. Okay, so you can create the entire string as italic. Okay, you can see, so except RCOE and university, everything else is italic. Okay, so basically this is called as emphasis. So we have emphasized all these things. Okay, now let's suppose so you can use either underscore or you can use asterisk. Okay, so if you use asterisk, that also is fine. Okay, so I will just remove this and remove this. So you can see it still works. Okay, now what happens if I add a space? Okay, so you can see, as soon as I add a space in between that, now this star is no longer emphasis, it is basically just star. Okay, so whatever you put over here, exactly that is printed over here. Okay, so for the star or the underscore to work, it should be, touching with the word. Okay, otherwise it will not work. Okay, so this extra space over here, that is not uh, allowed if you want to make it emphasize. Okay, so if I remove that space, extra space, now you can see, now it becomes emphasized. Okay, next is, if I want to create a bold tag. Okay, so I want to bold a particular tag. So let's suppose I want to bold RCOE. Okay, so for that, all you have to do is add 2 stars in front of it and 2 stars after it. Okay, so you can see what happens. RCOE is in bold. Okay, So similarly, you can create Mumbai University as bold, right? So you can see the advantage of doing this, right? So you don't have to close the tags. Basically, in this case, you have to, but in many of the cases, like in case of H1, you can see you don't have to close the tag, right? Wherever there is inline elements, you will have to close it, but still it is better than closing a B tag or a paragraph tag. Okay, so this is much easier, and also you are not using any tag characters. Okay, it is basically just like a text, normal text, and when you submit it to the preview, it converts that normal text into something completely different. Okay, so here it is bold in this case. Okay, so I can combine them together. Okay, so let's suppose I want to make this entire line italic, but inside I want bold. Okay, so I can just add underscore over here, underscore over here, and you can see best college in Mumbai University. So everything is italic, but Mumbai is bold. Okay, so you nesting is allowed in case of Markdown. Okay. Okay, so let me just you can use star also. It is not necessary that you have to use underscore. You can use any combination that you like. Okay, so that is done. Any doubts still here?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, how to make bold italic?
Sorry.
If
How
you
to?
want bold italic,
That is what I showed you. This is bold italic. You can see right now it is bold italic. Sorry, I removed it, right? So you can add an underscore over here, and you can add an underscore over here, and you can see uh, the it is bold and italic. Okay.
sir, if I put 3 star,
Huh. So in that case, that is why there are two, what do you say, syntax for the same thing. Okay, so you have star as well as underscore, so you have to understand when to use what. Okay, so if you are using underscore for bold, then for italic, in the same word, if you want to do both of the things, then for italic you have to use underscore. Okay, if you're using for bold, okay, so like for example, let's come over here and put two underscores over here and two underscores over here. So you can see best becomes bold. Okay, but now if I want to make it italic, I would prefer to do star over here and star over here. Okay, otherwise it will create a confusion. Okay, so that's why there are two characters for the same thing. Okay, there is the star also does the same thing, the underscore also does the same thing. So when to use what, it in a slight, you have to use your brains. It is very simple, because obviously if you do this 3 stars, okay, and then you do 3 stars, you can see it still works. Okay, yes. So but it is very difficult to identify what is exactly happening. So I personally prefer this particular format, where it is clear to me when I see the code that, okay, so the inner one is for bold and the outer one is for the italic. Okay, so it is completely your choice. Any other doubts?
no, sir.
Okay, and there was one, with one hashtag we have a particular hello size. How to set the font size? Very good, Ayan Sheikh. uh, Markdown is not about styling. Okay, so basically the styling part will be decided by the application. Okay, in this case, Visual Studio Code is deciding the entire styling part. Okay, so you do not have the freedom of selecting the style. Okay, so that is the no, it is an advantage as well as a disadvantage. Okay, now you may ask what is the advantage in it. Okay, So there is a very important advantage for the owner of the website. Okay, just imagine you are owning your own blog or you're owning your own forum, and you allow people to enter HTML. Okay, and what some of them do is they will type the contents with extremely large font, or completely different colors, etc. Okay, so your page, when it opens, it looks completely different. Okay, so we call it rang biranga color. Okay, so those things, if we allow, then your website, theme of your website completely changes. Okay, so if we allow HTML, that will be the problem. But in Markdown, you try to restrict them with the styles of your website. Okay, so you are styling it, but you are giving the freedom to select how you want to, which style you want to select. Okay, so basically you have, the user has the freedom which h1 tag they want to use, whether which part they want to create a bold, which part they want to create italic. But what will be the size, what will be the color, that the user will not have. Okay, but obviously they can do one thing, that is, they can put HTML inside it, and they can change the color, but then that has to be restricted. Okay, so that is the place where the developer should restrict they should not allow HTML tags, only Markdown should be allowed. Okay, so that type of a setting has to be done. Any other doubts? Okay, so let's continue. Next we will do list items. Okay, so let's suppose I want to do an unordered list. Okay, so for unordered list, we know in HTML it is UL. Okay, so for unordered list in Markdown, it is very simple. You don't have to open any tags, you don't have to close any tags. Only thing you have to do is put any one of the separators. Like for example, this is one of the separators. So as soon as I add a minus sign, okay, you can see a dot appearing in front of it, right? So I can just do that, press a space, and then let's say I am interested in, okay, so let's come over here, take a, this is just for styling purpose. So this is just for styling purpose. I will just say name of cities. Okay, and here I will just write Mumbai, then enter, then say Bangalore, then Delhi, like that. Okay, so you can see the bullet elements are getting created. Okay, so if you want, you can just go down and press a tab, which creates a new list inside the old list. Okay, so nested list is allowed. Okay, you can see a new list inside the old list is, so inside Delhi now there is best and test. Okay, so this is there. Okay, so Khan Samir, can we use HTML tags in MD? Yes, yes, you can use, but again, what is a Markdown? Markdown is not, it's like a text file, right? You can use anything, but whether to show it or not on the website is completely dependent on the developer who develops the site. Okay, so he will take this documentation, he will run a simple command called strip slashes or strip tags. So there are, if you are working on PHP, they will use these commands to remove all the HTML tags. Okay, so then there is no HTML tag. So that completely depends on the developer. You can put it. Okay, so if you put it, it will be treated like a normal text file. Okay, so you are completely free to select any text file. You can even put JavaScript tags, anything you want. But the developer of that particular website who is accepting the code, like for example, there is GitHub. Okay, so you put the HTML code and submit it to GitHub, they will simply remove it. Okay, or they may convert it into a form with entities. Okay, so HTML, it will be converted into HTML entities. Okay, so all these things can be done. So that whether to show it or not, it depends on the developer. Is MD extensive? Shaista, what do you mean by that? Do you mean that can the features be extended? Yes, yes, yes. In fact, that is what I'm going to show towards the end, that how extensive uh, this can be. Okay, so basically what is happening behind the scenes, if you just think over it, basically you are just reading the text file. Okay, and then you're reading whenever there is this hash file followed by hash symbol followed by a space, immediately whatever is after that, you are putting it inside an h1 tag. Okay, so basically your markdown is getting converted into HTML. Okay, so this you can also do using a simple JavaScript or a PHP, formatting, and you can, extract these things, and you can convert it into HTML. So when you are writing your own library, you can include any kind of extensible. Like for example, right now Markdown does not have the option to include video. Okay, so you can add a, some format by which video can be added. Okay, or you can add a iframe option, so iframe can be added. Okay, so all these things you can extend, but for that you will have to write the library. Okay, so if you're using a ready-made library, then it will not be possible, or if there are some plugin option, then it may be possible. Okay, okay, so let me just finish this list part, that will answer the next question of Huzefa. Okay, so so this is how you create a uh, unordered list. Okay, so instead of this, you can also put, something. You can do shift tab to go back one step. Okay, now if in your computers this thing is not happening, like for example, if I come over here and press enter, you can see this particular dash comes automatically. Okay, so that is because I have installed an extension called if I go to extensions, and if I go to Markdown, if I search for Markdown, you can see I have installed this particular extension, Markdown all-in-one. Okay, so this has lots of shortcuts that I use many of the times, and it also has, many other features, like I will show you some features as and when it comes. So this thing is happening because of it. Okay, so it's a good feature, that's why I use that library. Khan Samir, can we put image? Yes, yes. All that will come. Just wait for the next session. Okay. So I will quickly finish this part. You can also use, let's say I want to start a new, so I can also use star for this. Okay. So that also gives me the same thing. I can also use plus symbol for this. That will also create a new list. Okay, so which symbol to use is completely up to you, because that is not going to be shown in the output. Okay, for in the output you can see it is a dot. Okay, so it does not matter which symbol you use over here. Okay, now next what we're going to see is how to create ordered list. Okay, so now ordered list, there is no separate syntax as such. You just have to do one dot and space. Okay, so one dot and space, and now you can see you can start your list, and that's it, your ordered list is ready. Okay, I could not find a way to, change the bullet numbers, so that is something different. So it is always 1 2 3. Okay, so if anybody finds a way, just let me know. I've never used it. Okay, okay, so 1 minute left. Any queries still here before we go ahead? Till now, any queries, any doubts? Yes, yes, you can do nested ordered list. Just press tab once, it will go to the next part, and you can start writing test, you can see now it is nested. Okay, so you can do tab to get inside the nesting part. Okay, so here if I do tab over here, it goes one step inside. Okay, so it is nested. So if you do shift tab, it will go one step back. Okay, so tab and shift tab you should remember. Okay, actually you don't even have to do tabs, you can just use space. Okay, so but tab is what I use.